very last thing I want to end on, is there any, and this is a very broad question, and I definitely no right answer, but is there any, like, it can be literally anything, like a book, a show, a song, I guess that would be the best one. But like, is there anything you would like recommend to like listeners to check out? And it could be a concept too, like, oh, you should really look into like, neuroplasticity, whatever the fuck. This is just like a time to like,
Yeah.
yeah.
I'm trying to think of a movie.
Yeah.
I don't know though.
You can take your time. I meant to bring this up in the pre-call, but so you could think about it a little bit more. Could be a game. Osu, if you want to shout out Osu Yue, go for it.
Osu gang. Man, that's a hard one.
Yeah.
I feel like I often give advice that I don't follow.
That's fine.
I feel like it's a bit bad, but I really think it's good advice.
What is your advice?
Oh yeah, you can give advice too. You just have your recommendation.
I don't know. I guess one
no, go for it.
It's just like whatever you want to do, you just do it. Like especially like stuff like work or things that you do mentally. It's really easy to just put it off by like procrastinating and like not just not thinking about it. But like once you start doing it for a bit, you realize like you really want to do it, and you just want to like get it done instead of like being in the mindset of like it's a bad thing to do or like it's not enjoyable. Because in the end, you still know you have to do it, so why not just do it? And just don't like try to motivate yourself because it's really, really hard to do. But instead, just be mechanical, right? Just do the things that you know you have to do, like open your laptop or like download a file or just like open a PDF, right? Like just do the mechanical things that's easy. And like once you're in that environment and situation, the rest will just come from memory, like muscle memory. You're just like, oh, I'm doing this now. Yeah. So like I just close all my procrastination stuff and start focusing on what I really need to do.
Yeah.
I need that advice in my life right now. Thank you.
Like the takeaway is like I'm terrible with this. Like I always like think about I need to be motivated to do work, but really the thing that happens is like as you work more and more, you start to become more motivated because you see the progress you've made, and like you feel good by making a little bit of progress, like every hour or every 5 minutes.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's I guess that's to anyone struggling with this.
Yeah.
My advice is don't do drugs, kids. Just except if it's DMT.
That works too.
There you go.
Yeah. And then mine, I guess I'll do mine. I wasn't sure. I was like, should I just ask my guest or should I like have one myself? And it's more just like a book recommendation than like advice or anything. But Start With Why by Simon Sinek is a really good book. But it's basically, he just goes around like, so it's the idea that a lot of people's personal narratives and lives sort of formulate over this sort of why, which is built from like your core values, your principles, your like priorities in life. And that the better that you can like understand what your own why is, and sort of it's more of like a discovery than like a creation thing. And the better you can like discover your why and why basically the thing that drives everything you do, whether it is work, outside of work, just like sort of this really underlying meta. The better you can understand that, like the more impactful you'll be in getting that why like into fruition. And then also just the sort of more driven and motivated you'll be doing the things you're doing. And you can always use that as sort of like a basis. Like, does this action or just this like job, is it in resonance, with my why and stuff like that. And then the book goes in more details about like, okay, there's like, he describes this like a why, and then there's a how in terms of like the process and actions to take your why into like actual things into a real world, and then that's your what's is like the products of that.
Wait, what's it called? It's
Start with why.
Oh shit.
I have it. I think I lent it to a friend, but you can be the next friend that I lend it to.
Gotcha. You're never getting it back, man.
It's fine. It's like a $10 book. Yeah. So yeah, that's my recommendation, advice, whatever.
Yeah, I resonate with that. I feel like I've used that in some parts of my life.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely solid. Definitely easy read. Lots of examples, which are super helpful, and those types of like personal help, self-development, career type books.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's it. Thank you so much, Yue and Rahul, for coming on the first podcast. Went a little long, but I didn't really have a time box, so hopefully it didn't interrupt your guys' lives too much. And yeah, that was Journeys with Kai.
Peace.
Cool. So I think we can just end it on one person, thing. I know things are really bad now because it could be anything, but like it could be like a show, a book. Just what is one thing that's really like inspired you? And it doesn't have to be with your side project, but it can be. And you can do multiple if you're like, oh man, all of these things are so inspiring. But try to narrow it down to just like one or two big inspirations in your life. I know it's a tough question, so I don't feel like I have to answer right away. And I can try to think of mine too, yeah.
It's very depressing because we're still on the heels of it, but the death of Kobe Bryant, and this is one that I struggled with this year, as we all did, but really because this was my number 2 role model like in my entire life. Number 1 is Obama, number 2 is Kobe, and it's so close. There's not even much of a difference between the two. The only difference is that I feel like I'm closer to an Obama than a Kobe because I'm not an athlete at all.
Yeah, I've seen you ball,
so I just relate more to Obama and what he does. But the first part of the grieving process for me was just so difficult because this is a guy that has the ultimate work ethic, has accomplished so much. He's done so much. To me, look, he's made some mistakes in his past, but he definitely now has been a model citizen and character and inspired so many people. And just like that, everything was taken away. So how can I look at that? And how can I then say, well, now let me go work as hard as he did. He lost everything in a moment. But then I thought about it more and I said, look at all these people that he affected. Look at how many people are motivated by his death to keep pushing forward and to try to find the good in life. He squeezed everything he could out of, yes, the very short 41 years that he lived, but that's still a beautiful thing. And it's a very, it's a very sobering thing to realize that any moment any of us could be taken away. What did you do with the time that you had? So that is something that I've just been thinking about every single day. Every single day, it's so sobering for me. Everything I have could be taken away. And if it is, will I be proud of everything that I've done? Have I given my all? Have I had that Mamba mentality? That for sure. 2020 especially has been so inspiring.
Wow. Thank you. Yeah, Kobe is definitely
you go next.
A good role model. Okay, yeah, I'll go next. Was definitely a big role model for me. I was definitely, I think growing up, I like Dwayne Wade better for whatever reason. I definitely know one of the reasons is like when I played NBA Live 08, I would always choose the Heat so I could play with Wade. I think one thing I really liked about Wade, and this isn't my main inspiration, but is that he was always kind of stoic. He definitely you could tell he was very passionate about the sport, but he wasn't a guy to cuss out another player or get in a fight. He was very clean in that regard. And he didn't even showboat that much. Obviously, there's the famous LeBron, Wade, alley-oop. But I really admired how he was sort of humble in his approach to the game. But I'd say a big inspiration, and this isn't just because Anthony's on the podcast, is Anthony's dad, actually.
Oh.
So Anthony's dad, just to give a really quick overview, he graduated from Tufts undergrad on the Air Force ROTC scholarship, studying like chemical engineering or some version of that. And then he served his time in the Air Force because of the ROTC scholarship, and then got an MBA from Stanford. And that's basically propelled him, I'd say, through the rest of his career. And so, like, right now, he's like a CEO of this biomedical device. I don't know if it's considered a startup, but like company, smaller company. But like, so there's obviously that part of him that is very inspiring, just as someone who comes from like an engineering background, and then now is working at like biomedical tech company, and he's CEO, so he's obviously doing pretty well in that regard. So it's not just like the professional ambition and accomplishment that really I like to identify with. Not that I've accomplished that much so far, but then it's also that he's just like a really sort of easygoing guy. When you talk to him, he like cracks a lot of jokes, and he's like knowledgeable a lot of like different things. And he's definitely been sort of like a mentor to me growing up, especially as I got older. Is into like, hey, what do you think about like colleges? What do you think about majors? What do you think about like these different jobs? Because he's been through a lot of the stuff that I want to go through, and I might even go to business school. We'll see. I don't think I could be a legacy. I don't think you can refer me to a Stanford MBA, but I'll definitely try to. But he's just been that kind of person that has had a lot of things going well for him. And he started out, he was a first generation, he was an immigrant. I'm not sure what his parents' situation was, but I'm sure he didn't start off with that much. So I just really identified with his narrative. That was a big one for me, for sure. Hopefully that's not Anthony's. But.
Okay, yeah, I mean, sort of similar, but like, I think like both my parents are people that like really inspire me. It's like, it's very cliche, you know, but as Kai said, like they're both first generation Americans. They both immigrated here. My dad, when he was like 8, my mom came here for college, and I think like they're both like successful in terms of like the very broad, like very generic like definition of successful in terms of like they went to college, they got like pretty good degrees, like they both like worked. But I think even more than just like that, I think they're both like really good people, and they've instilled a lot of good values in my sisters and myself. So like, yeah, they're definitely people I admire a lot, and I think one of the things that like keeps me going is just like trying to like satisfy them, and like not like disappointing them is like something that really pushes me to keep going. So especially since like, because like, I don't know, I feel like they put me in such, like they started at like a much lower position than me, just in terms of like financially, in terms of like their opportunities. So like, and then they've achieved so much. So I feel like the expectations are high for me. So yeah, I guess it's my thing.
Yeah, because I'm sure Munya identifies that like sort of story a little bit too. I mean, he's actually an immigrant, but also both your parents were immigrants. But yeah, that's it. Thank you so much, Anthony and Munya, for being on my second episode of Journeys with Kai. Hope it was a good experience overall, and you know, I really appreciate it. I really enjoyed how this one turned out. Of course, I'll look over it again after, but I think we went over some good stuff, and I hope you guys feel the same.
Yeah, I definitely feel the same.
Yeah, me too.
All right, I'll see you guys later.
Yep, see y'all.
So let's just wrap up with one skill you'd like to either would have developed or gotten into further before you started your full-time roles after college. And this could be a skill that you would either get exposed to in, you know, school in the academic world, or it could be from a professional experience. But what was one skill you think you would have liked to deepen or grow looking back on, you know, your college experience and pre-graduate experience. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. I guess I'll start off. So as a product manager, kind of the skills required, instead of, I guess, a T, like you were kind of referring to, I think it's more of a circle where you need to like have a grasp of almost everything from like engineering to business to sales to marketing to product, to sort of, you need to be a jack of all trades kind of thing.
Sure.
And I think one skill area that I kind of wish I had more of in college could be more so on like the sales marketing aspect. So I got an engineering focused degree and learned technical skills, and I took some like engineering management related classes where I learned some good like business skills and things that were related to product management a little bit. But as far as sales and marketing, I guess I never really took any classes on that, and I didn't have a whole lot of experience there. So kind of coming in and learning how SAP sells and markets their product and just how that whole thing works, I think it would have been better if I had maybe taken some classes in college related to sales and marketing, or even done my own coursework on it. Just now that we have all these online like websites you can go to, Udacity, Udemy, even YouTube as well. So yeah, so sales and marketing, I think, would be nice to have prior to the role, and yeah, that's what I would have had.
Cool.
Yeah, personally for me, I think in cyber, I really would have liked to have taken, I don't even know if Andy offers any cyber course, but I would have liked to take like a security course in school if possible. I think it would have been a good, even though I kind of interned in it the summer before, I think it would have been good to kind of have like a technical course to kind of understand cyber more from a technical perspective, although it's like very broad, just kind of a class to kind of give you a general
101.
Of like all the different areas and kind of the tools that they use would have been cool to, have gone into and taken. I think that, because now, I mean, I'm trying to kind of learn, all the, like get a cert, a certificate to kind of learn all of the different areas, like the Security Plus is a pretty general base knowledge one that, most beginning people in cyber want to get. So, now I'm having to do that, which I probably would have done anyway, but it would have been nice to have had that option in school to, kind of learned about that stuff.
Yeah, and even get the certification even. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely cool.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you for both of you sharing that. I think for me, especially since I sort of joined or decided I want to go in the tech industry late, would just have been getting earlier exposure to that and sort of been less stubborn with chemical engineering, because I definitely could have probably dropped it after the first half of my sophomore year, but I decided to finish up my sophomore year with it. And I think just having even just a semester head start would have made it a lot easier academically, but then also I would have been able to go into a little bit more depth and be a little bit more technically proficient coming out of college than during it. So yeah, I'd say that's probably my main thing. Socially, I felt like I was doing fine and like working with other people. Yeah. Well, that concludes the third episode. Thank you, Ben Sklar, Jonathan Steward, for being my guests. I think we covered a lot of good topics and spread a lot of really useful information and advice for those people, around our age or even earlier. So yeah, I just want to appreciate both of you guys for being on my podcast.
All right, thanks.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah. No
I heard a good comment from someone I recently met. He's like a 5th or 6th year PhD wrapping up, but he would always say, believe in serendipity, like it always has helped you. And it's so true. You never know what opportunities will come your way. And I think maybe tying it back to that pre-med mindset is, you know, that mindset may obscure or block out opportunities that are coming your way because maybe they don't perfectly align with, you know, the clinical opportunities you think you need, or the volunteer, or the, you know, research that you need to do. But in reality, those other things that come out and present themselves as good opportunities, those are what you really should be taking advantage of. And don't let a pathway block you from them.
I've definitely seen, and I'm sure you guys have examples too of like serendipity in my own life. 100%. Like it's actually crazy how much like I'm thinking back on, like I could be in a
serendipity. We talked about this startup thing.
Yeah.
Came together, and we've got all these interests, and his partner
insane.
is, you know, a girl who went to my high school. It's crazy.
Yeah, that's how things happen all the time.
Yeah.
We could have both easily said, no, we don't have time. We're not going to do this thing. We're not going to do this podcast. But we're like, yeah, we'll do it.
Yeah.
Take time out and do it. And you, it's always 99%. It's always a positive outcome.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's the thing I like a lot, and like touch of serendipity. If you're more into like the spiritual stuff, it's like people have different energies and different like wavelengths, and then some people are on like wavelengths that resonate well with each other.
Mm-hmm.
So like that's sort of like where chemistry, they would say, comes from, or just like, I think, and this is probably, let's not go down this path because it's kind of diverting from the main things that we've been talking about, but just like the idea of energy and like serendipity, and that like things, if you go where vibes is a bad word, but like where you really like deeply resonate with it, and it's something that is like you may not be able to explain it, but you're like, I feel like this is the right decision. And the more you can trust those feelings and listen into that, I think the better decisions you're going to make for yourself, and like you'll be going down a path that's naturally like your best fit and the least resistance, and you'll be willing to work hard because you have some sort of like really deep like limbic system level resonance with whatever you're pursuing, you know. Sorry if that was a little tangent.
No,
That's good.
it's all good.
Yeah.
Well, should we wrap it up? I'm gonna have to roll out soon.
Yeah.
But
yeah, no problem. Obviously doctors have other stuff in their life besides podcasts, apparently.
Should we say our closing remarks?
Yeah, usually I have a question, but you guys can definitely say some closing remarks while I think of like a last question.
My closing remarks is I've always lived by this motto that I got from Lemony Snicket's A Series of Unfortunate Events.
I love
In
this.
The Penultimate Peril, there's a quote from the dude in the submarine, I forgot his name, who says, "He who hesitates is lost." Like, I don't know if you guys remember. He who hesitates is lost.
Oh, okay.
If you guys remember reading that book, that was his main saying.
Oh, he said it multiple times.
Yeah, he said it multiple times. That was his mantra. He who hesitates is lost. And I've always lived by that phenomena. I think it summarizes everything we've talked about. If you are even remotely interested in a field and an opportunity comes your way, then if you hesitate, you'll lose. And I think I can pinpoint exact decisions for each. I can trace back, let me rephrase this. For every major success I've had in my life, I can pinpoint exact decision points in which I chose not to hesitate, and then it paid off drastically, you know?
Yeah.
Wow. I'll give one example to make it more concrete. When I was a sophomore at Vanderbilt, at the end of sophomore year, I was elected as president of the South Asian Cultural Exchange, and there was a student government campaign happening at the time, and because I was sort of newly in this role and I had a couple of connections, one of the campaign members of one of the candidates approached me and said, "Hey, do you want to, participate in the campaign, and endorse this candidate, whatever, this and that?" And I knew the candidate, I supported his views, and I was like, you know what, this is a weird space. I've never really gotten involved in, student government or this and that, but I'm just going to do it. I'm not going to hesitate. I'm just going to jump in and, take advantage of this opportunity.
Yeah.
So I became part of that campaign team. And that single decision point, I think, blossomed into hundreds of opportunities for the rest of my 2 years at Vanderbilt because of the connections I made, because of the networking I did, because of the work I did, because of the trust I embedded in people. That gave me opportunities to have higher roles in student government, to make connections, to create collaborations between student organizations, to just be better known on campus. That eventually just started to snowball opportunities to the point in which I felt like I'd created a strong enough portfolio to, be accepted to a school like Johns Hopkins for medicine. So those types of decisions are you're probably experiencing those types of decision points every single day, and you never know what it's going to blossom into. He who hesitates is lost.
Damn.
Nice. I had a quote that I turn to every now and then. It's from the book The Right Stuff, about the development of the astronauts who went on the Apollo missions. So I'll bring it all the way back. The quote is, "Dare to discover the unknown," which I really like, because I like the word dare as like a element of your life, because I think you have to be a little bit daring in both willing to take on risk is really what I think daring someone to do embodies.
Yeah.
I think you have to take a little bit of risk and explore areas that you're not comfortable with.
Yeah.
But be okay with feeling the certitude that, this is the right thing to do. And I think that's been a real good embodiment of a lot of the work that I've done throughout my career, is just taking on things that I wasn't really sure of where they would turn, and kind of having that self-assurance and daring attitude to try and just turn it into something.
Yeah. Damn, I lost my like that. And that brought up a question, which I guess will be our final question for the podcast. So in that spirit of daring, and in the same line of thought as like path of least resistance, and also path that you're like relatively accomplished in, so what do you recommend in like finding that balance if like there's something that you really want to do and you want to work and you do work hard for it, but it just isn't working out? So either it's not working out because of like you're just not getting the recognition that you want or like need or whatever, or just like it's not working out in the fact that like any other ways it couldn't work out, right?
Yeah. I have two responses to that. One is commit yourself to the self-assurance that we already talked about, because that will alleviate a lot of the anxiety of not achieving success as fast as you want to achieve it. I think that's an important thing to think about. Like, it's not that you're not achieving success; it's that you're not achieving success as fast as you think it should come.
Sure.
Success will come with the self-assurance that you have, but sometimes it will take a lot longer than you expect, and you may misinterpret that as not being successful.
That's great.
The second thing I would say is you need to continuously expose yourself to more and more opportunities within whatever you're pursuing, because one of them will snowball into achieving success faster.
Yep.
So if you're doing the same thing over and over again and you're not being successful, then open up your network a little bit more and try a little bit, cast a wider net in terms of who you're interacting with, the avenues you're pursuing, and see if any of those things hit and sort of cause an avalanche towards achieving success faster. That's what I would say.
Awesome.
Yeah, I really like the idea of, the success over time ideal. It's like a derivative of success and time. And are you meeting the point that you're happy with?
Yeah.
I think exactly. That's my engineering way I want to think about it. I do think I'm trying to think back to moments where maybe I've not felt like I was achieving enough or having enough success. And I do think they come. No, they come pretty regularly. That's the thing, is I think they come and then they go, and then they come and they go. Huh. And I wonder if that idea of it being over time is what's really the thing that's impacting that belief, is during this time am I not achieving enough? But maybe it's just because it's only been a month or 2 months, and maybe I need to look at 6 months. Yeah.
A year. Yeah.
Exactly.
Actually, real quick, so you brought up the success over time line, right? So where do you guys think you are, and what's your shape of your graph so far, and where do you think it will go?
Ooh, yeah. You
I think. Oh, go ahead.
I always hope that my biggest successes are to come. I don't want to be like look back fondly at those memories and be like, oh, those were the days. I've always want to be like, what am I working towards? That's always cool to me. It's one thing that inspired me to go into medicine too, is it's always a continued development.
Sure.
And you get that kind of a cool, me 5 years from now will be better 5 years later, and 5 years after that. Like, it has that built into it.
Yeah.
I think my path, I'm, seeing some pretty good success recently in different domains, but I still feel like I have so much yet to do. Yeah. So I want to have a big delta in the next 4 to 5 years and see a lot more success than I've already had. It's not that I'm unsatisfied. It's just I think I could do a lot more. And fortunately, that'll hopefully result in helping a lot of other people too, which is ultimately my goal.
Yeah, I think I had a lot of early success in high school and college, and then I stagnated in the first few years of medical school.
Really?
And I feel like I'm just now achieving a little bit more of an upslope starting residency. I'm really committed to... I'm trying to heed my own advice of going back to the fundamentals, exposing myself to more and more opportunities like I used to in college, and then just paying attention to the timeline. I think in medical school was tough, and you have to focus a lot of your time on getting the fundamentals of medicine down. But the other thing I was going to bring up is, like, you don't want to be that guy that's like, everyone says, oh, that guy peaked in high school, that guy peaked in college, that guy peaked in med school. Like, you don't want to be that guy. You want to be the person that's still whose peak is still to come.
Right.
Yeah, always.
So that's like my biggest motivation in life, is like, I don't want to be that guy that's like, oh, they've my peak was in the past.
Well, yeah, I definitely think both of your guys' peaks is yet to come. Definitely can't wait to see it. Did you want to shout out your TikTok before we?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
The Instagram handle is at the TikTok doc.
Okay.
So TheTikTokDoc.
Whoa. Okay.
And then the actual handle on the TikTok app is at TikTokDocMD.
Gotcha.
Maybe you can throw it in like the description or something.
Yeah, definitely. I'll definitely link it up. Do you have anything you want? Do you want to shout out a startup or whatever? I don't know what you want to shout out.
I don't have anything great to shout out, unfortunately.
That's all good.
But I've enjoyed this discussion. It's been a lot of fun. I will shout out TikTok Doc MD though. Some pretty good videos in the short few seconds I've been watching them.
That's TikTok Time Link.
Yeah.
All
Thanks
right.
for bringing us together, Kai.
Yeah, of course, no problem.
That's
Anytime.
great.
You guys ever want to come back on the podcast?